Greetings, Patriots, Starseeds Lightworkers, and of course our very brave military. Welcome to 1776 United, and we're in a worldwide and galactic revolution. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm Alex West, and today's September the 27th. Okay, so Trump has activated the gold-backed Treasury note, and to replace that with, he's replacing the fiat currency with this new Treasury note, okay? That was ordered today. Or yesterday, I'm sorry. Also, he's ordered the GMA, Global Military Alliance, mass arrests on all the DS, if you know what I mean, elements, operators worldwide. He's also made that order. There is a full banking and market collapse coming. Once that happens, at the point of that crash, there will be a 10-day of communication darkness, and the world will experience a full lockdown. Okay, borders will be closed and planes will be grounded. Only essential services will be open for emergency services. Okay, so Trump's Global Alliance was also to take over the mainstream media and news across the world. Okay, that was all the different medias in every country. Now, whether he's going to do it one at a time or do it globally at once, I think it's probably going to be all at once. That's all going to be taken down at that time, and there will be probably a alliance military linked to Starlink taking over, and that's when we will get the full exposure of the 8-hour videos 24/7 being played for around 10 days. In some cases, some countries type thing, or maybe other countries won't get it as much. NESARA GESARA will be released across the world at that point. Debts will be erased. Fraudulent banking will be dismantled. Federal Reserve is gone. IRS is gone. CRA is gone. And other predatory tax collectors will cease to exist at that time.
So let's get going on the top of the show here. Question number 60 in the countdown. Pete Hegseth is calling a meeting for the top military brass this coming week. What is the purpose of this meeting? And is this where the military is spurred into action to save our democracy? So I see that this meeting was called in order to try to get alignment from the military and like allegiance to a leader, like a dictator or president. Military is not going to go along with it. This will actually be a deciding factor for the military. And, these are some of the practices that were done by Germany when they had that regime going on, trying to get complete allegiance by super generals to a leader. Not going to happen with the U.S. military. And in fact, this will be one of some very important decision points for the U.S. military. And I do see this as an important element of the AIMS strategy. AIMS is a strategy that my angelic team laid out in November of last year. A standing for analysis, I investigation, M military or movement, and S eventual separation. So this is all part of the plan, overall plan. So I do see that's why the meeting was called, and it's going to have the reverse effect on the military that they would not declare allegiance to a dictator. 59, the countdown. Will the government start shutting down banks or making it difficult to access our money in the future? I don't see a hard shutdown of all banks. I do see regulatory problems or conflicts between certain banks and the government, but I don't see that this is going to cause a shutdown of the banks or a loss of access to a lot of people and their money. So whatever happens will be somewhat go in some phases here and there, regulatory issues going on, but I don't see that it'd be a shutting down of the banks, no.
Okay, so we need to talk about this because I've been noticing this for over a year now, and it's just getting even crazier. But back in 2022, um, physicist H.E. Puthoff, who has been studying, um, he was heavily involved in the MK Ultra, and he's been studying what remote viewers have been tasked with, probably millions of documents. And we just don't know because it's been classified um, over the last 30 years of his career. And he is a highly respected physicist. Um, anyway, he wrote this paper in 2022, and I think it is a huge example of what is happening right now. So the abstract of this paper that he wrote says, under consideration in this paper are two seminal statements and their concomitants, sorry, I can't say that word, currently unknown as follows. One, there is an unidentified phenomenon interacting with the current human population on Earth. Semicolon. Number two, it is currently unknown whether the phenomenon is exclusively extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, crypto-terrestrial, demonic, jinn, proto-ancient human, time travelers, etc., or some combination or mutation of any or all of these. However, it appears highly likely that the phenomenon, per se, is not constituted exclusively of members of the current human population. I've been noticing this for the last year since I shattered my ego, which, again, I just want to remind you, shattering your ego, they have made it a very dirty word, when in fact all it is a belief system that you have been taught since you were born, in which you have been um, forced to believe as the truth. So when you shatter that belief system and you realize that anything is actually possible, the impossible is possible, and it's only then when you shatter that goo off of your pineal gland that you then begin to have a more open, a different dimensional way of thinking, and you're able to actually critical think, and you come out of this cognitive dissonance that we were engineered into as children through our educational system. And this was started in 1840s. Okay, so everyone who's alive today, human-wise, has been through this programming. And I find it really wild that everything the last year that both sides have said have not happened the way they said they were going to happen. Now, of course, we can say that the people leaning towards the right predicted that Trump would win. And and so you could say, okay, they were right. There were a lot of people leaning on the left that saw Kamala Harris was going to win. And so they were devastated when in fact it didn't happen. But since Trump's been in, I have been watching the right and the left. Nobody's been getting anything correct. Nobody. In fact, wilder stuff is being said on the... Well, actually, I have to say it's being said on both sides. Just this wild stuff. So, what I discovered was that we are being infiltrated in the astral plane, the veil, you want to call it the Akashic records, whatever you want to call it. There's been enough remote viewing documentation out there to prove something is in our collective consciousness and it is interacting with the humans here on Earth. And so what I have discovered is that there is tricksters happening in this collective consciousness that are messing with everyone. They're messing with people no matter what your ideology in politics is. They are messing with everyone. And they're steering everyone in really crazy directions that, so and so is going to save us. And I'm telling you right now, no one's going to save us except us. Number one, we have to stand up for ourselves. If you believe this is a human school, that's the lesson. But I also just want to start the conversation that there is tricksters in the collective consciousness that are specifically messing with people. And these tricksters can portray themselves as your spiritual guide, as an archangel. They can come across as Jesus, Mary Magdalene, one of the disciples. Any master, any ascended master, they can make themselves into that. And so it's scary as hell when you start realizing that they can actually come across, meaning, and this is what I personally experienced, the energy frequency was so high, I believed it to be Jesus. But once I started understanding how our universe is made, which is through vibration, frequency, and energy, and I started accepting the fact that something was in fact in our collective consciousness giving us false information. Now, this has been written about, you guys, since the Sumerian text. The Mesopotamians talked about it. Even over in India, they talked about it when they talked about the different gods. Every culture has talked about it. And in fact, it's even in the Bible. It talks about when you receive one false information, it is your red flag that you are being deceived by a deceiver. And I know I was. I was deceived. And when that didn't happen, I didn't blow it off like most psychic mediums do. I actually started investigating what I was shown and told didn't happen. A lot of people blow it off as, oh, we jumped timelines and everything. And I don't believe that because of how our planet operates. As an astrologer, everything down to the millisecond is timed out, right? There is just a tiny little bit of free will that we all have. Everything we lay out our entire life before we come. And if you understand this philosophy, then you understand there really isn't that much free will. The lesson you're supposed to learn is not going to deviate. So when you get false information, it's then when people need to stop, critical think, get out of the cognitive dissonance, and ask why the information was false. And that's what I did. And this is what sent me going back to ancient texts and investigating what the hell was going on. Because some of the claims the last 8 months that both sides have made have been the wildest shit I've ever seen in my life. And now I understand because they're being tricked. And again, I too was tricked because I now know that the person I met as supposedly Jesus, which the frequency was so high, I started crying. I mean, literally crying. It was like happy tears, but I started crying. They have this ability to manipulate the frequency and trick us in who they are. So it's really difficult unless you understand all of these principles and understand how to truly protect yourself to get true information. And so right now we are seeing some of the craziest stuff come out all over. Some of it is propaganda that's being pushed on purpose by humans. And then a lot of it is, I mean, I do believe some of these spiritual people on the right and spiritual people on the left believe they are talking to their guides, or they are talking to angels, or they are talking to ascended masters. I totally feel that from their energy field. That's what they believe. However, what I also see is that they are being manipulated and infiltrated by malefic energy that's tricking them. And this is happening on such a large scale, which is wild because, again, this happened back in the 1800s. So, I mean, this is something that we've went through before, and, you know, we're going through it again because they tend to do this through every, every population. I mean, I haven't went back further than 1800, but there is some evidence that shows that it was probably happening back then, all the way to where the Sumerians are talking about it in the text. So this has been something that's been ongoing. I don't know when it started, because I don't believe this was originally how Earth was devised, as well as us, was to be in this trickster energy. I believe we got infiltrated at some time by this, again, I don't know if it's extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, crypto-terrestrial, demonic, a jinn. Is it time travelers? I don't know. I'm just like Pudov here. Something, though, has infiltrated our collective consciousness and is affecting humanity in tremendous ways. And I'm really scared of what's going on right now. Because our government right now, all the people in power are using the shadow energy of the planets and the zodiac signs that is coming down on Earth. They are using the shadow side of that against us. And so I'm just really concerned about this, that it doesn't seem many people are picking this up. And I think we really need to step back and really understand this. That we are being infiltrated by something we don't understand, number one. And number two, we are also being manipulated by the humans here who now understand, and have since the 1850s, of how to social engineer our minds. They've perfected MK Ultra. There's enough evidence that's been released out there now. So we're really in a dangerous spot, and especially with AI coming on and them trying to shove this down our throat the way they're doing it, it's really scary. And so there needs to be a bigger conversation within the spiritual community of what the hell is really going on. The physicists are talking about this and have been talking about this for a very long time. Again, this paper was written in 2022. And so obviously they have high concerns of what's going on. And I think we need to come to an awareness of this as well, and that we need to be really careful of who you're listening to. I am seeing astrologers even being manipulated. I am seeing, you name it. It doesn't matter if you are or are not spiritual. I am seeing all kinds of people. I am seeing, professionals, in various fields, history, psychology, physics, science, right? They're all being manipulated. We're all being manipulated. As if this is some sort of game to whatever is doing this to us. Until we realize until we all understand something is going on beyond our understanding right now, it's going to be hard for us to maneuver through this and protect ourselves. So I don't know. I just think there needs to be a really bigger conversation about this within our spiritual community, because I'm really, really concerned about in the direction we're headed. As an astrologer, I'm getting even more concerned because time does seem to be running out on us on being able to, overcome um, the problems that we're having from the human power people who are trying to force us into their 2025 plan. We're getting closer and closer to that plan, and no one's right. I mean, very few people are rising up against this. I mean, we are losing every day more and more of our freedoms, and it's really heartbreaking to watch this happen. And I just believe that until everyone comes to the understanding that we are being manipulated not only by humans here on earth, but we are being manipulated by something unexplainable in another dimension, or extraterrestrial. It's something we are being manipulated. I believe they are using energy, frequency, and vibration against us. Um, and it's nothing new. So we just need to start having a conversation about this. Anyway, it's just my thoughts this Sunday. I love you guys and have a great week.